Imagine being lost at sea for 10 years, trapped between the wrath of gods, the songs of sirens and monsters that can swallow whole oceans. This was the fate of Odysseus. But in Homer's epic, the Odyssey, there is a silent character that carried the weight of this entire legend. A character Homer mentions over and over again with a very specific, eerie description: the black ships. Why black? Was it a poetic metaphor for death and doom? Or was it a reflection of cutting-edge, ancient Bronze Age engineering? Today we are breaking down the myth, the wood, and the raw physics behind the ships that carried Odysseus. We will explore how they were built, how they sailed, how the crew survived, and the bizarre, dark rituals the Greeks performed to keep their vessels alive. Let's solve the mystery of the color first. Homer wasn't just being dramatic when he called them black ships. He was being technically accurate. Ancient ships were made predominantly of pine, fir, or oak. While beautiful, raw wood has a massive enemy: the Mediterranean Sea. Saltwater, wood-boring worms like the dreaded shipworm and constant moisture will rot a vessel within months. To survive, the Greeks needed a shield. That shield was a concoction called pisa, a mixture of hot pine resin, pitch, and sometimes charcoal or oil. The shipwrights literally baked this mixture and smeared it over the entire outer hull. It was sticky, waterproof, toxic to sea pests, and when it dried, it turned the ship a deep, glistening, obsidian black. But the Greeks didn't just stop at pitch. They used a technique called encaustic painting, mixing pigments into hot wax to paint vibrant, colorful decorations on the bow, especially giant striking eyes. These weren't just for decoration. To the crew, these eyes allowed the ship to see its way through dangerous, unfamiliar waters. So how do you build a legendary fleet with nothing but Bronze Age tools? In Book 5 of the Odyssey, Homer actually gives us a step-by-step breakdown when Odysseus builds a raft to escape Calypso's island, and it perfectly mirrors real-world Mycenaean shipbuilding. They didn't build ships the way we do today. Modern wooden ships start with a skeleton, a frame, and then planks are nailed to the outside. The ancient Greeks did the exact opposite. They used a method called mortise and tenon construction. Think of it like ancient, incredibly complex Lego. Every single plank along the hull was connected to the next by thousands of hidden wooden joints, locked tightly into place with wooden pegs. Frame pieces were added only after the outer shell was built, just to keep it rigid. This made the hull incredibly strong, lightweight, and flexible enough to ride massive ocean waves without snapping. What did Odysseus's ships actually look like? Based on Homeric descriptions and late Bronze Age archaeology, these were not massive, lumbering pirate ships or heavy cargo vessels. They were sleek, fast, dangerous predators of the sea. Odysseus commanded a fleet of pentaconters, which translates directly to 50 oared ships. These vessels were roughly 28 to 32 meters long, which is about 90 to 100 feet. They were long, narrow, and low to the water, with a width of only about 4 meters or 13 feet. This incredibly narrow beam was designed specifically to maximize speed. For propulsion, they relied on a single, massive square sail made of linen or lightweight wool, used only when sailing with the wind. When it came to steering, they didn't have a central rudder like modern boats. Instead, they used 2 massive steering oars mounted on the sides of the stern. Finally, the bow was equipped with a pointed, bronze-plated snout or ram designed to smash through enemy hulls. Because these ships were so long and narrow, they didn't have enclosed lower decks. There was no cozy captain's cabin for Odysseus. It was an entirely open deck layout. The men sat exposed to the blistering sun, cold salt spray, and enemy arrows, separated from the open ocean by just a few inches of wood. How did you navigate a ship in 1200 BCE? The short answer: with absolute terror and great caution. These ships were amphibious because they had shallow drafts and flat bottoms. They weren't meant to stay at sea for weeks. They didn't even have anchors like we do today. They used heavy stones. Every single night, the crew would intentionally beach the ship on a sandy shore, drag it up onto the land, cook their dinner, and sleep on dry ground. Navigating meant cabotage, hugging the coastline. You kept the land in sight. If you lost the coast, you were at the mercy of the stars, the sun, and pure luck. When the wind was favorable, they raised the square sail. But the Mediterranean wind is notoriously unpredictable. When the wind died, or blew directly against them, it was time for pure human horsepower. 50 men, rowing in perfect unison, pushing a multi-ton warship through the water at speeds up to 7 knots, or about 8 miles per hour. It was exhausting, brutal, back-breaking work. Who were the men rowing these black ships? On a standard Pentaconta, the crew numbered around 50 oarsmen, plus a few officers, a steersman, and the captain, Odysseus himself. But here is the catch. In the Bronze Age, there was no distinction between a sailor and a soldier. The men pulling the oars were the exact same men who fought on the beaches of Troy. Life on board was a psychological pressure cooker, with 50-plus men crammed into a space the size of a modern cricket pitch. Conditions were miserable. Fresh water was stored in heavy clay amphorae or skins, which quickly turned stagnant. Food consisted of dried barley, hard cheese, salted meat, and wine mixed heavily with water. Sanitation was non-existent, and there was absolutely no personal space. If one man panicked, the whole ship felt it. It's no wonder Odysseus's crew mutinied and made terrible decisions like eating the cattle of the sun god out of sheer desperation. To the ancient Greeks, a ship wasn't just a vehicle made of dead wood. It was a living, breathing entity. It had eyes to see, a spine, which was the keel, and ribs, which formed the frame. And because it was alive, it had to be protected by and fed for the gods. Before the black ships ever tasted salt water, the crew had to appease the forces of the universe. The ocean belonged to Poseidon, the earth shaker, a god notorious for his intense mood swings. The Greeks literally fed their ships. They would perform a propitiatory sacrifice right on the deck or the shore before departure. The blood of a sacrificed bull or ram would be poured over the bow to wash away bad luck. Libations of unmixed wine, dark and rich, were poured directly into the sea to quench Poseidon's thirst. They believed that without this blood and wine tax, the sea would claim the crew instead. In some myths, parts of the ships were literally divine. The Argonaut's ship, the Argo, had a beam made from the sacred talking oaks of Dodona, allowing the ship to literally speak and prophesy to the crew. For Odysseus, his relationship with his ships was a constant dance of survival against Poseidon's personal vendetta against him. So, how do the ships in the Odyssey stack up against the real historical ships discovered by modern archaeologists? In Homer's epic myth, these vessels possessed incredible durability, surviving sea monsters, whirlpools, and direct lightning strikes from Zeus. In historical reality, however, Mycenaean ships were fragile, highly prone to rot, warping, and instant sinking if caught in an open sea storm. Mythologically, they had immense speed and scale, crossing vast, unknown magical realms seamlessly. In reality, they were strictly limited to coastal travel and required nightly beaching just to let the crew rest. Finally, the poems paint them with deep mysticism, sentient vessels with painted eyes that almost knew the way home on their own. Historically, they were simply high-maintenance military tools requiring a constant, grueling reapplication of toxic tar to stay afloat. Homer's Odyssey is a tale of human endurance, but it is also a tribute to Bronze Age engineering. The black ships were the spaceships of their era, venturing out into a terrifying, unknown void. They were painted with the pitch of the earth, guided by painted eyes, fueled by human muscle, and protected by the blood of sacrifices. Without the black pitch that kept out the water, and the thousands of tiny joints holding the hull together, Odysseus would have never made it back to Ithaca. The myth lives on because of the incredible reality of the ships that carried it. Every epic journey eventually demands a return to the shore, and every legend must be grounded in truth. The black ships of the Odyssey were never just passive tools of wood and tar. They were the thin line between survival and total oblivion in a world governed by angry gods and unpredictable seas. So the next time you picture Odysseus sailing into the sunset, remember the sweat of the 50 oarsmen, the smell of the dark pitch, and the raw engineering that turned myth into history. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the tides of history.